Hello and welcome to GuySuCo Roundup. I'm your host, Curtis Sital. GuySuCo, in collaboration with the Ministry of Business and the private sector, rolled out one component of the Sustainable Communities Program. The first Business, Financial and Investment Forum and Coaching Clinic was held for former employees of the Wales and East Demerara estates and their families on Monday, January 29 at the Enmore Community Centre. We bring you the opening ceremony, which outlined the business opportunities available to former employees.
Good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to say thank you for coming out to this morning's session. GuySuCo, as you know, you're a part of it. We're reorganizing, we're transitioning, and as a result of that, there are 3 estates, Rose Hall, Skeldon, and Enmore, East Demerara Estate, are transitioning into another form. Wales, as you know, Wales Estate is also transitioning into another form. As a result of that, over 4,000 employees were no longer employees of GuySuCo. So this forum here is to let you know that life is about perspective. We can either look at it as the end, or we can look at it as the beginning of something else. What we are trying to do here is to let you know that this could be the beginning of something else. It could be the beginning of not just something else, but something else that's good. And I think as we build this partnership, there's so much that we can achieve together that we cannot achieve if we attempt to do it on our own. So I think it's significant that we have Mr. Eddie Boyer himself from the Private Sector Commission. Now that is very high level interest in you, in your future, in how do we help you to move or to find your way through this transition process. And for some of you, I know you're asking, why are you here? I know some of you came out to get severance, right? And but you also came because the estate is just behind us. But you also came so that you can get some advice. And we thought that you will be receiving severance. Severance is just, we see it as capital. It's money. So what do you do with the money? And so what we thought was to bring together persons from the Private Sector Commission, the Chamber of Commerce, people who know business, people who know about investment, people who know about insurance. And so I would like to urge that we make the best of the opportunities which are available to us. And like I said, this is a challenge, but it has also created an excellent opportunity for us to mobilize support towards redesigning a future for you that could possibly be better than your past. So I'd now like to invite my colleague, Mr. Corbett Victorine, who will be doing an overview of the program that we've developed to give support to you. And that program is called the Sustainable Communities Program and the Alternative Livelihoods Initiative.
The GuySuCo Corporation, it's common knowledge now, is going through a restructuring. That restructuring led to decision taken in May of 2017 that confirmed estates Skeldon, Rose Hall, East Demerara, and Wales will no longer be operating in sugar under GuySuCo. As such, those estates were set for divestment and diversification. We know, as our history has taught us, that the sugar estates has become a very important economic base for the communities in which they existed. As a result of that, GuySuCo understood that this restructuring would have come with some economic shakeup, and that an intervention was necessary. So it became evident that GuySuCo's economic and social challenges which it faced would also impact on sugar-dependent communities, making them somewhat vulnerable to these changes. As such, the Sustainable Communities Program was developed as a means, as an intervention to counteract the vulnerabilities and susceptible economic challenges. This program is a three-pronged program, and it involves an economic resilient component, a social resilient component, and an environmental resilient component. Today's activity is specifically related to the economic resilient component, and it seeks to establish sustainable communities or sugar-dependent communities, fund to be managed by the Ministry of Business, Small Business Bureau. We seek ultimately to have this fund which will enable reskilling of ex-employees and to provide financial and technical support for startup and scaling up businesses. Our employees or ex-employees who have been trained to support that industry, we expect that they will be seeking livelihood opportunities in other areas. And as such, by the end of this week, we should be moving on to another set of training. These, still partnering with the Small Business Bureau, we will be training 60 persons in the estates of Wales and East Demerara in masonry, carpentry, and plumbing. These trainings, or these training sessions, will be conducted by the GITC, Industrial Training Center in Georgetown. Transportation will be provided from here to the training center, and we were specific in reminding them we want serious interest, because the program is costly, no cost to our employees, gears, that is personal protective equipment and such like will be provided. We also have, for those persons who are already inclined in these areas or trained in these areas, their infrastructural work that we can organize as contractors to provide to the estate. But we are saying we're looking at an area of alternative livelihood. So the estates remaining are not the only possible users of this reorganization. And so we are seeing that there are other entities which have already indicated that they may be able to use the skills that we are now putting into these communities. And so it's wider than the GuySuCo. The program continues because we've already started discussion with the Berbice New Amsterdam Institute. We've already had discussion with the Upper Quarantine Technical Institute, and we intend to start similar programs in masonry, carpentry, and plumbing in Berbice, following the one in Georgetown. The other area, the environmental resilience, very important, because GuySuCo in the communities was a main mover of the drainage and irrigation of all these communities. With the estates moving away from GuySuCo, that remains an area where a need exists and someone has to take it up. So we are organizing for that shortfall to be addressed. And in this case, we have partnered with the National Drainage and Irrigation of the Ministry of Agriculture, and GuySuCo will continue to provide all related activities and operations to drainage and irrigation within the communities where estates were, or estates that were owned and operated by GuySuCo existed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we know, and we're very much aware that the GuySuCo's initiative can only be successful and if you are successful in whatever venture or whatever activity you choose to collaborate with GuySuCo on. So we're encouraging you to listen out as we, from day to day, because activities and programs are coming up as we partner with various agencies. We are currently discussing with the Forestry Training Center several programs of training which can lead employees to opportunities in tree spotting, opportunities in grading of timber grading, and even opportunities where they can become operators of forestry concessions in the Forestry Communities program. So as we continue to seek for livelihood opportunities for employees, we look forward for your cooperation, and we look forward to see you seize the opportunities as they present themselves.
This situation that we have here could be potentially, can have a potential negative or very negative impacts on your families, communities. But what we've attempted to do is to dam the river with sustainable communities and alternative livelihoods program. And I'll keep talking as I chair this program about the importance of the partnerships that we're building, because we can't hold the dam together by ourselves. We need people with the appropriate skills to help us to keep the dam in place. So I'd now like to invite one of our very strong partners that, or partnerships that we're building, and that's the chairman of the Private Sector Commission. We see the Private Sector Commission as a very strong partner, not just for the short term, but also for the medium and the long term. I'd like to now invite Mr. Eddie Boyer, the Chamber of the Private Sector Commission, to the podium.
The Private Sector Commission is made up of 26 corporate companies, all the large companies in Guyana, all the medium and large companies in Guyana, and yet we represent a number of other organizations from the length and breadth of Guyana, from Springlands to Latem. When you look at employment, it's there if you can just think positive and hold to the fact that you are in transition to finding other employment. So I want you to understand, don't go and beat on your wives or wives beat on your husbands because you have a job and you've got a situation Listen, you used to go in the market and the grocery store with $10,000. You could only go now with 5. You gotta take it easy. You gotta cut down the drinking. You gotta cut down the spending. We can support the environmental resilience because of the fact that GuySuCo provided drainage, irrigation, and all community services. And we have to support that environmental resilience. It's not going to be easy, right? But we are with you. Yes, the odds are against you. But you must have one thing, hope and faith. If you don't have hope and faith, right, you know, I mean, that's the key. To get through this, you gotta have hope and faith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eddie Boyer. It's very interesting that one of the things that you learn is that, or what I'm learning, is that it doesn't matter how difficult a problem is, that you're supposed to be able to help to find a solution to those problems. So it's interesting how we can use different approaches to attempt to find solutions to the problems. And this is a part of testing an approach to find a solution to a big problem that we're having. One industry is having difficulties. What we're attempted to do is to look at the industries which are doing better and to reorganize those resources from those industries to the communities or the sugar industry communities. But to do that, we also need to upskill, if I can say, or put the skills which are appropriate for those other industries into these communities. So hence the program, I'd like to invite Dr. Llewell Porter, who is the Chief Executive Officer for the Small Business Bureau, and he's going to be talking about what the opportunities which are available to you from the Small Business Bureau, as well as the Ministry of Business perspective.
In 2004, there was an act that was established through Parliament that said that this bureau is going to be formed, and from that bureau, they're expecting a couple of things. One is that there's representation for small businesses. Another thing is we have created what is called a green fund, which is outside of the most of those traditional businesses that you see, you know, cash trap, but it's more like innovative. So if there are people here who have business ideas and it contributes to the green economy, we also will support you. We have a special fund set aside for that. So in essence, the Small Business Bureau is here to support and to partner with you to reduce the impact of what unemployment could bring. I would like to borrow some words that I heard from our dear friend, our senior psychologist who's sitting right here. You know, he says that everybody was born with a dream, and everybody has the right to fulfill that dream. Okay? And the other thing is that you have a right to reap profits from that fulfillment of the dream. So the Small Business Bureau is here. As I mentioned, we want to adjust those sales with you so that you can be successful.
We spoke with the training institutions like GITC, New Amsterdam Technical Institute, Upper Quarantine Technical Institute. And so they have designed a program just for you. So you ain't need no CXC. All you need is to go to the program and finish it, right? Because we recognize that you have skills, you can do the program and the training, and we have designed it for you.
One of the things I really like about this session is that it's one thing for me to come and tell you, start a business. But it's another thing for somebody like Captain Kabaya to come and tell you about business. It's a different level of understanding and knowing. So we appreciate the wisdom and the advice from you.
I want to say to you today that there are many things people will say to you, and there are many promises, and there are many strategies and many plans. The most important thing that you must come out of this with is that there's hope. And there are many people who are here today, and many people who are not here today, who will stand with you as Guyanese who have been plunged into a very terrible ordeal of your life. To be without a job, to be uncertain about the future, and at times, sometimes could be very confusing. What do I do? But I want to say to you that there are people who are going to stand with you and give you hope. And then we need to be able to translate that hope into some kind of tangible results that will make a difference for you and your family. Remember this, that what the mind of a man could conceive and believe that you could achieve. Think about it. Be positive thinkers. Do not surround yourself with negative people and negative thinkers. You are facing a difficult time now. This is the time to pull you and your families together. Sit down together, huddle together, work out the strategy forward. And do not go rushing in. Do not go rushing in any project that you haven't thought out.
It's a hard time. And do not believe that you're alone in this hard time. There are men that are the same way. There are some of us that came out of the same trenches, but we believe that we're not going to allow a beat down to happen to us, and we're going to stay and be beaten down and downtrodden. You got to fight. We are men, and we must stand strong for our families. And the GuySuCo worker is a special kind of worker. It's not easy for you to transition to move into entrepreneurship or to move over into something that is technical. It requires training in that area. And those training will take time too. What happened between now and then? You're gonna start? You can't start. You gotta make sure that you get out there. If you have a stopgap work, take it up. You might not enjoy all the benefits as you did with GuySuCo, but you gotta settle for less. It's just the reality of life. Right, guys? What I want you all to know is that the private sector and the Private Sector Commission, Chamber of Commerce, we are here to support you. Wherever we can find a placement for you guys, we will so do.
So let me just tell you about the stock exchange. The function of the stock exchange is to provide a marketplace where you can buy and sell shares in public companies such as banks, DIH, DeMar Distillers, the commercial banks that are represented here, Sterling Products Limited, etc. Now, when you buy shares in a company, you become a part owner, and you are entitled to be invited to any general meeting and to vote on any major issues that arise at those meetings. The stock exchange, apart from providing that marketplace, we also monitor and regulate the activities of the participants in the marketplace. Now, this afternoon, I'll be here in one of these tents, and I'll be open for you to ask more direct questions, and I'll be happy to tell you. But one of the things, as I said, compared to the banking industry, you get a better return, it's tax-free, you earn from tax-free dividends, as well as the share price is rising. If you sell the shares back, that money, the profits you make are also tax-free. I thank you for listening, and if you have any further questions, we can meet after in the afternoon.
In all the discussions, as you heard, there's talk about investing, talk about getting into business, and as you think about planning what you will do with your finances, most of you, I know, will be receiving a lump sum payment. It's always prudent to, whenever you're doing your financial plan, to make sure you have a foundation on which you can build that financial pyramid. And that foundation should be insurance. I want to urge you and encourage you to think, as the other speaker said, you know, when you get up money, try to resist the temptation of spending it out. I know you have, many of you have, maybe because of your situation, have pressing financial needs. But I always think before you spend money, try to do your analysis for yourself and categorize them in needs and wants. And needs should be the things that you have to spend on. For example, you might have to pay the light bill, the rent, and so forth. Those should come on the needs. But if you want to go and buy, if you got 2 pairs of shoes, and do it now. Don't go and use the money for buying more shoes, or I'm going to take it and buy a big fancy television set. Try to resist those things. Try just to focus on what the immediate needs that you have and leave the wants for later. Thank you very much for your attention.
Following the welcome ceremony, those attending were allowed to interact with representatives of the business community.
There's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can see it, then I can do it. If I just believe it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I believe think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. See me running through that open door. I can fly. I can fly. I believe I can fly. I can fly. I can fly. I can fly. If I just spread my wings, I can fly. 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 If I just spread my wings, I can fly.
On January 31, a similar exercise was held for former employees of the Rose Hall and Skelton Estates at the Skelton Community Center. This has been GuySuCo Roundup. Thank you for staying tuned and do join us again next week. I'm your host, GuySuCo. Goodbye.